Well, the best Thanksgiving always starts with a good turkey. Now, I know a lot of people have ventured away from turkey, but yet my family, now that I have found the perfect turkey recipe, they say we are never going away from our turkey. Last year, I tried to venture out and venture into smoking my turkey, and everyone was upset. So what I'm going to share with you is the best dry brine turkey recipe ever. Everyone will love it. Leftovers will not be around very long. Plus, what you can do with the bones afterwards is make the very best turkey bone broth. Oh, it is so good. You don't need anything else to enjoy a good meal. So getting started, yes, you can see I've already been carving up the turkey. We're basically going to separate it out. So I've already taken off the two wings and placed them on our tray. Now our tray, I have covered it with foil, and then I put some parchment paper on it. I also put a metal rack in here so that the airflow can get underneath the turkey while it's in the dry brine stage. We're also going to use that again when we bake it for the same reason. Now a dry brine is very important, and we definitely use salt. So we're going to use 1/4 of a cup of salt. The purpose of the salt is for two purposes. One, to add flavor, to really enrich the flavor of the turkey. And second of all, we want it to dry out the turkey so we get the crisp skin. And that is why my family loves this recipe. So I'm going to go ahead and finish cutting up the turkey. So I've done the wings, I've done the legs, and of course I just put the neck there because we have several members that like that piece. And then the next part is just the breast. So we're just going to cut that off of the turkey and then place that down on the tray. And then the backbone we really don't use. I save that to make soup later and just throw it in the freezer until I'm ready, along with the other bones. Now, if you are a person who doesn't like doing this, you get a little squeamish, there are some butchers who will cut up a fresh turkey for you. There we go. And as soon as I'm done with this, we're going to go ahead and just mix up our brine. Once you get in the joint and not on the bone, it cuts very simply. So we'll put the backbone away. We'll put this right here in the middle. And it's going to bake so evenly that you shouldn't have to worry about making slits or anything for it to bake better. It's going to be good. So our recipe is this. We're going to have 1/4 of a cup of salt. I use Redmond's real salt because it just has all of the minerals in it that God designed. I do not ever want to be using Morton's salt or iodized salt or any of the processed salts. This way, your body gets exactly what it needs to be as healthy as possible. Now, I also have in here already my freshly cracked pepper, and you can smell the aroma of the cracked pepper in here. Freshly cracked pepper is going to give you a stronger burst of flavor. It's going to season the meat even better than using the pepper that might be in your pantry for a couple years. And I will admit, I've got pepper up there that's been there probably 10 years. It just keeps getting pushed to the back of the pantry. So we're going to mix 2 tablespoons of freshly cracked pepper. It could be the black pepper, the pink pepper, the white pepper, or a mixture of all three. And yes, I am using my favorite tool, a Fisky. To this, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of onion powder, 2 tablespoons of garlic powder, and then 1 tablespoon of smoked paprika. It is one of my favorite spices ever. Then we're going to add 2 tablespoons of, now the Bon Appetit recipe that I follow always says brown sugar, but for us, it's a sucanat flavored with molasses. So that way we have a little bit higher nutritional value than just the store-bought brown sugar. So mixing these up, I did have the organic onion powder and the organic garlic powder. The salt is the key though. The salt and just a little bit of sweetness, which is why we have what you would call brown sugar, which I have the molasses flavored sucanat. All right, and this Because we're not doing an oil on this, we're just gonna go ahead and do a dry rub. So just go ahead and take it with your hands and just rub it into the skin. Make sure you cover all of it as possible, which is why with it being cut apart like this, it's making it easier for you to put it all over the entire turkey. When we have the turkey that is still in the whole form, it's harder to get the brine into all of the places. And yes, I'll even do the neck just because that family member is going to be so happy that it's got the flavor in it too. Yeah, so when you do the wet brines, it's just harder to get the turkey to dry so you can have the seasoning stick to it. And you have a lot of seasoning, but I am just going to generously coat this turkey. After this, we're going to leave it uncovered because I need it to dry and I need it to dry out. That's the purpose of the salt. And we're gonna leave it uncovered. We're gonna put it in the refrigerator for a minimum of 24 hours, and you can even do it up to 2 days. Now, the interesting part of that is that when I don't calculate my days correctly, and I realize at the last minute, oh, Thanksgiving is not enough days for this to sit, you can do a quicker brine, but your best flavor is gonna be a minimum of 24 hours, up to 2 days, 48 hours. That's your best flavor for the brine. All right, I'm gonna pop this in the refrigerator just like this, not cover it up at all, and leave it sit there till we're ready for the next step. Well, our turkey has been sitting for 2 days in the refrigerator, and then I took it out and let it sit at room temperature for 3 hours. That's actually going to speed up our baking time. And you know how it is, you don't like setting the timer at 3 a.m. in the morning of Thanksgiving just to get the turkey in the oven. Well, you don't have to do that ever again with this recipe. This is only going to take about an hour and a half to bake because I've brought it to room temperature. So the first thing I need to do is lift the wire rack out of the tray, rinse the tray, and then put new foil down so I can have a really quick cleanup when I'm all done with my delicious turkey. Now I know some people are concerned about having aluminum foil in their cooking, but the turkey is not going to be touching the aluminum foil. The purpose of the aluminum foil is just for quick cleanup. And after you've enjoyed a delicious meal with your family or friends, who wants to spend the rest of the evening or the afternoon in the kitchen cleaning up? So this is just going to speed up the cleanup. And you could even put a couple layers just to make sure it stays nice and clean. And then I'm going to put my turkey back on it. It's just staying on that rack. It just fits so perfectly. There we go. Now we're going to pop this in the oven at 475. I already have my oven warmed up. So we're going to bake it at 475 for the first 20 minutes. It's going to get that really crisp, delicious tasting skin on it and preserve the juiciness on the inside. With our turkey, for it to taste amazing that your family's gonna say, okay, we're gonna eat that turkey every year, the dry brine is important. That's a very important step. But the other important step is the glaze. And so for the glaze, we're going to use some soy sauce. I am still using Bragg's soy sauce, or liquid aminos is what they call it. And that we're going to use right at 1/3 of a cup. And then I have some red wine vinegar. And to this, we're going to add some olive oil. So we've got 6 tablespoons of olive oil. What you're seeing me do is I'm actually doubling the base just because I want a little bit of extra. We use extra for sometimes putting it on the vegetables or mixing it in with the gravy. But what the recipe I'm telling you is what we have written out for you in that free download. So make sure you're picking up that free Thanksgiving recipes download so that you can follow along or save it for Thanksgiving so you can use it as well. Now we're going to add in 4 chopped garlic. You can mince them, you can chop them, whatever you prefer. And then it calls for some fresh herbs. So I went out in my yard, and you can vary this up for you. I've got some basil, some rosemary, some oregano, and some thyme in here. You can use fresh herbs, but I know not all of you have fresh herbs in your garden, and so I went ahead and put out 2 tablespoons of some dry mix of herbs. So it's the same thing, it's the same blend, but I'm just using it already dried and ready to go. But if you have these, what I would do if it were me is, I don't want all the leaves in my sauce, so I would take this and I would bind it up with some yarn. And then I would, well actually I wouldn't put all of that into it, but I would cut about, let me just show you real quick here. So I would cut this up right here, I would tie this up right here. I don't really need the top parts. And I would just put this in my skillet. So when I'm done making my sauce, I can just gently take it out and I don't have all of the leaves in everywhere. But instead, because I know not all of you have that, I'm gonna go ahead and use the dried spices. And we're gonna cook this just for a couple minutes until it just barely coats the back of a metal spoon, and then we know our glaze is perfect. So before we put it in the oven, we're just going to add just a cup of water into the tray. And then as you check on the turkey between your basting, just check and make sure there's always some liquid in the bottom of the tray. Now we've made our baste, so I'm just going to start putting this over the turkey. Again, adding just another layer of flavor. And since we have it all cut up as opposed to a whole turkey, it bakes more evenly and it just makes for less time in the oven. This turkey you want to use a 12 to 14 pound turkey. If you have a large family, then what I would do is get 2 12 to 14 pound turkeys so that they both can, if your oven can hold it, so they both can cook at a good timely manner. And we will put that in the oven and get it baking. Well, our turkey is done, and one of the ways to make sure your turkey is 100% done is by inserting a thermometer deep into the breast piece, and you want that to reach up to 150. Then the second way is going into the thigh, and you need that to be right at 170. It's as simple as that. Once you remember those numbers, you're good to go, and you will always have the perfect turkey. So once that is done, you would take it out of the oven and then cover it with some aluminum foil. We call it tinting. And then you would let it sit for about 30 minutes. Now it's still going to continue to cook, which is not a bad thing. It actually enhances the flavor even more. Once it has sat for 30 minutes, you can start carving it and serving it to your family. Now I am not the world's best carver, but it'll taste good. So that's all that matters to my family is, does it taste good? And the answer will be yes. So however you are at carving turkey, just go ahead and, did you see that juice pop out? That means we've got a delicious turkey. And then look at the skin. That whoever gets the pieces of the skin, they're going to love it. Now we do have a lot of sodium in our flavoring, so some people may not want the skin, but they will still benefit from having the flavoring with the brine. Now if you don't let people, like if they take a wing and they chew on the wing, if you don't let them do that, if you remove all of the meat yourself, then you can save the bones to make the best turkey broth ever. Well, thank you for letting me share with you a delicious and nutritious Thanksgiving meal. I hope I've encouraged you to try a new recipe, try a new way of serving your turkey, and you could even use that recipe with chicken. It would be delicious with chicken as well. It will be the new favorite. Instead of fried chicken, now you can have dry brine chicken. And with those blends of herbs and spices, yes, it will be a new favorite. Well, thank you for letting me share this with you and sharing with you God's recipe for excellent health, which always includes 3 ingredients. Number 1, help you be confident in the kitchen. Well, we definitely did that today. Confident with your health. We improved the nutritional value of some favorite recipes. And most importantly, confident in understanding how much God loves you. With an amazing, everlasting love, He's loved you from the moment of conception, and He made you just as He wanted you to be. And He has a special purpose just for you. And He desires to have a personal relationship with you as well. So thank you again for letting me share this with you. I am Annette Reeder from The Biblical Nutritionist.